In a quiet, dusty town stood a small, unfinished church with unpainted walls, old wooden pews, cracked floors, and rusty zinc roofing. Every single day, a humble church worker faithfully cleaned the church, despite his poverty and suffering at home. While others chased money and opportunities, he remained committed to serving God faithfully, even when his children slept hungry. Earlier that afternoon, before anyone arrived, the faithful worker knelt alone at the altar, under the weak ceiling fan, and prayed with tears in his eyes, asking God for divine favor and begging him not to forget his family. Unknown to him, heaven had already arranged an answer to his prayer. Not long after, a luxury black SUV slowly entered the dusty church compound. A wealthy businessman stepped out, dressed in an expensive senator outfit, carrying an elegant paper tote bag. Years earlier, this same man had once come to that church broken, frustrated, and desperate for help. According to him, after the pastor prayed for him, his life changed completely, and he later won a contract worth 500 million naira. Before traveling abroad, he decided to return and appreciate the pastor who prayed for him. When the businessman entered the church, he met only the faithful worker cleaning the pews, because the pastor had traveled to submit a report at the headquarters. The humble worker welcomed him warmly and innocently offered to pray with him if he needed prayer. The businessman smiled emotionally and explained that he did not come for prayer, but came to appreciate the pastor, because God had changed his life after the prayer he received years ago. Because he was rushing to catch a flight, the rich man handed the church worker the elegant tote bag and asked him to give it to the pastor. Then, while leaving, he suddenly stopped, turned back, and apologized for his manners before giving the church worker some money personally. The worker became deeply grateful and emotional as he thanked the man sincerely. After the rich man left, curiosity entered the worker's mind. Alone inside the empty church, he carefully opened the tote bag to check what the businessman had brought for the pastor. To his surprise, all he saw was a sealed pack of St. Louis sugar. Confused and slightly disappointed, he wondered why such a wealthy man would only bring sugar as appreciation. Moments later, the pastor returned to the church. Excitedly, the worker explained everything that happened and handed the bag over to him. As the pastor checked inside the bag and saw the sugar, his expression changed subtly. Then, the worker happily mentioned that the rich man also gave him some money before leaving. Immediately, the pastor manipulated the situation, joking bitterly that the rich man gave the worker money while only bringing sugar for the pastor. Using smooth words and spiritual authority, the pastor convinced the innocent worker to exchange the money for the sugar instead. Trusting his pastor completely, the worker sadly accepted the exchange and left quietly disappointed. That night, inside their tiny, poor room, the worker's wife broke down in frustration. Tired of suffering and hunger, she complained emotionally that her husband kept serving God faithfully while their family continued to suffer in poverty. The children sat quietly, hungry, as the family prepared to drink ordinary Gary for dinner because there was no food in the house. Still calm and full of faith, the worker gently told his wife to trust God because he would never forget them. As they prepared the Gary, the worker brought out the sealed pack of St. Louis sugar he collected from the pastor. The moment he opened it, his entire body froze in shock. Hidden inside the sugar package were stacks of dollars and a blank check. Silence filled the room instantly before his wife screamed in disbelief. Tears filled their eyes as they realized that God had answered the prayer he made earlier that same day inside the empty church. At that moment, the faithful worker understood a powerful truth. Sometimes blessings may look ordinary on the outside, but what God has prepared for you can never be stolen by man.